Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today our guest is Melissa Johnson. Thanks for being on the show, Melissa.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Melissa has been flipping houses in San Antonio, Texas since 2003, growing and expanding their business into a thriving real estate investment operation. With over 1,000 houses flipped, she has also built a portfolio of rental properties and real estate notes while raising 5 children. I'm looking forward to hearing more about this because that's incredible. So she provides coaching, support, and education for other high-level real estate investors nationwide. So Melissa, so much we can learn from you. And one thing that's just obvious from reading a short bio is that you have to have many great systems and processes in place. I mean, just to manage 5 children at home alone, much less flipping 1,000 homes at the same time. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. Why don't you give us a little more about who you are and a little more about your business, and let's jump into those systems and processes that have helped you to build this type of business.
Sure. So again, flipping since 2003, started out part-time and eventually transitioned into full-time and kept that going for a long time. Just the two of us, my husband at the time, we flipped houses for years together, and then decided to actually grow it into a real business and hire people and everything. And so I think that was the first time that I really realized how important systems and processes were, because when everything is up here, when you go to hire somebody, now all of a sudden you're spending a lot of time dumping from your head out to train someone. And, that's when I quickly realized this is not a scalable thing the way it is right now. We definitely need some kind of systems and processes in place. And that really became a focus moving forward from like 2014 onward, is really building that good foundation with good systems and processes. And that has been the biggest game changer for the business, I think, because at that point, then I was able to scale that, to grow it, to the point where I wanted to grow it to, and then to be able to have the freedom to be with my 5 kids and do things with them and stuff like that, because I knew I had those systems and processes in place that would allow for that free time.
Nice. It's amazing when you have some systems and processes in place. I think you hit the nail on the head there, but it gives you some freedom, right? And just mentally as well.
For sure.
You were able to enjoy your kids more because you put those systems in place. And so I would love to jump into those systems a little bit and some key systems that help you all to operate, just on a day-to-day basis, maybe systems that, no matter what real estate business or maybe business in general, that we can all use to help systematize our processes the way you have.
Sure. So we have systems for everything. A lot of time, even small things, you think that it's not worth documenting or something because it's not a big part of what you're doing. I think when everyone tries to do the systems and process thing, they immediately go to like all the big things, which are important, but there's a lot of little pieces that go along with that and stuff too. So some systems that we use a lot is follow-up systems are huge for us. Can
you give an example of that?
Sure. So having a follow-up system for sellers. So, people contact us through website or through a piece of mail that we sent. And so, we reach out to them, we get information. Sometimes we're able to convert that to an appointment. Sometimes maybe they're not ready yet. They just are looking for more information or whatever. So having that system in place to follow up with them, regardless of if we went on an appointment or not, has been really important and has led to a lot of deals, actually, just from follow-up. There was one property that we had bought. We've been following up with this guy for like 5 years. I mean, the follow-up game is pretty strong. And 5 years later, because we were the only one, we just consistently were reaching out. And when he was ready, we were the first person he called because we were front of mind because of having that process in place of contacting them. And it's happened time and time again where, you go out to that appointment, and even, when you go on appointments, following up after that, if we left a contract behind, or, did you decide to sell? If you did, researching, because that's another part of it too. Maybe we missed out on a deal, right? So having a system in place, we're following up and seeing, okay, well, let's make sure if that deal closed or not, because maybe they told us it was under contract, and then it turns out it fell out, but we wouldn't have known if we wouldn't have kept following up. So we've got deals that way also. Just, we lost it. We kept following up anyway to see if it sold. If it sold, fine. We get that, capture whoever that buyer was and make sure we contact them to put them on a buyer's list. But, also just with the seller too, getting deals.
How are you tracking a system like that?
So with that, we're tracking that within our CRM system. So we're using Beast Mode and are loving it. Their support's been great for us, just, getting a few little things that we needed especially done. And so now
is there a specific feature in that CRM? I've never heard of that CRM. That's incredible. Is there a specific feature in there that allows you to do that and track that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a Podio based system. And I hadn't used it before, but it's been pretty user friendly. But yeah, we can track. So we keep notes on everything too, because, again, part of the follow-up, we want to make sure that we remember what our conversations have been like with these people. So you can track all that within the system, and then set up reminders to contact them, in a week, 2 weeks, 30 days, 60 days out, whatever. It makes it a lot easier than trying to track it on a spreadsheet or, on a phone reminder or something like that.
So what's another system that's helped you? I know follow-up. What's another one?
I think another really big system for us has been, we do a lot of wholesaling. And so having a system in place for pushing those deals out has been really great. We've got that process down so well now. And we move deals really fast. Because of those processes in place. So they know exactly what to do. So everything that we do in our organization has a checklist. So it's an initial checklist of here's all the things that you need to do to fulfill this role. But then going further, here are the processes on how to do that, down to, log in here. Here's the login. Here's the password. Click here to do this. And now you're going to do a walkthrough video. And how do we push that out? And then we're going to get a bit.ly link. And how do you do that? And, all of those things, in one place to make it very easy. And the reason why you want to do that is because, unfortunately, there's a few reasons, but big one being, if somebody leaves your team, you can't ever think people aren't going to leave. And so when you've got all that systems in place, it's a lot easier to plug a person into that and not have to spend so much time, explaining everything when it's already there.
How do you, like you talked about, you have that laid out, you have a checklist, and here are the processes on how you do that. Is that just like listed in a Word document, or, where's that at? How do you, document that? So like maybe the whole team or specific people can see those things and even update them as you go.
So kind of old school, I guess. I know there's a lot of great tools out there to manage some of that stuff. I know people use Asana and different things, but honestly, I just used G Suite. And so what I did was, we have a company folder that I control all the access to, because that's another big thing. I went through a bad period of not having control over certain things, processes within the organization. So that's important. And then within that folder, each role in my organization has its own folder. And within that folder has all the how-to with the links to the supporting documents that they might need to do that. So one of our core values is keep it simple. And I have found that's the best way to keep it simple and yet still be able to manage everything.
Nice. So you can share that folder with that specific person, and then right there, they can see all the checklists and the processes of everything they need to do ultimately.
Right. And then because I'm old fashioned, I also print out a copy and put it in an actual binder, just because I know for me, sometimes I like to just be able to grab something and flip through and like, okay, there it is. Versus clicking around and what did I save that as? And I can't find it or whatever. So I try to keep it organized and simple. as possible, and without too overwhelming them with access to different things. So if you're the lead manager, you only have access to the lead manager file. Acquisitions only has access to the acquisitions file, so they're not cluttered up with a bunch of stuff too.
Nice. What about, how do you manage the team members? Maybe are there numerous team members that maybe doing acquisitions, and are you separating those roles inside of there?
My team's really small, so no, I don't have multiple people in multiple roles. And that's just my choice to keep it that way.
Sure.
But if I did, it would definitely be the same setup.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there other systems that you can think of that would be helpful to us? Whether it's anything on the business side that would help us to organize our business better.
Sure. Another thing that that I created and use, I love marketing, and I love tracking marketing and knowing all my numbers with that. I want to know how things are converting. There's a lot of information laying there that people aren't looking at, I think, sometimes. And so I actually created kind of a process and a document to be able to track that stuff. So I break down all my different marketing channels, and then, how many leads did I get from each one of those? What did I spend for each one of those? How did those convert into deals? Did they close? How much money did I spend on that channel as a whole? And then what was my profit like for each one of those? So there's a lot there that you really need to be able to make really smart decisions. And then having that process and that easy system for doing that really helps. And honestly, I just use an Excel spreadsheet to do that, or a Google sheet, or whatever the equivalent of that is.
Where do you get that data from?
I pull that from the CRM. So, as far as like the leads and everything goes, that pulls from my CRM, and then I pull the financial stuff from my QuickBooks.
Okay. And so, like, from breaking down the channels, is that something you can go to each of those channels and find that information?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So marketing and tracking conversions. Yeah, I think, it's something as any business owner you need to track. And I know initially we've done a very poor job at doing that personally, and we've tried to get better and get better. But it's difficult, to understand all these analytics and which ones should we be looking at, and which ones are important. Are there other systems that, even if it's like email or how you all handle stuff, on a daily basis that can help, that helps give you time back, to your family and 5 kids?
Yeah. And I think when it comes down to it, I don't know that it's specific systems that do this, or if it's the delegating of the systems that really give me the free time. I feel like I choose to look at it that way because, I guess it all ties together, right? You can't hire, it's hard. You can hire somebody, but it's hard to delegate something if you can't tell them what to delegate and how to do it. So they've got to understand what they're doing, understand how to do it. But that's when you plug that person in with that system, that's what's really giving you the freedom of your time. And so, yeah, they're like building blocks that work with each other. But just even the easiest stuff, like, we use G Suite to track all the systems and processes for the business as a whole. I've been using PropStream, and I love it. That's been a great tool for lead management. So managing all the leads that come in, and then, the mailings and stuff like that. Like if you're doing any kind of direct mail, you have to have a system for that, because it gets really big, really fast, like very overwhelming. Especially if you're doing like multiple campaigns and things like that.
Gene Trowbridge and Jonathan Ney, founding partners of the top syndication firm, Trowbridge Law Group, LLP, have a legal team with over 50 years of combined experience in real estate syndication and the practice of real estate securities law. Over this time, Gene and his partners in several past firms and currently have helped clients raise close to $5 billion in offerings by empowering entrepreneurs to raise capital legally. To learn more about Trowbridge Law Group, LLP, visit their website at trowbridgelawgroup.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. I think you hit the nail on the head about delegating systems. I think it's interesting that you word it like that, because it's so true. If you just hire somebody and you don't have any methods for them or any way to train them or anything for them to go by, they're just going to continue asking you how to do something. right?
For
And
sure.
that's not
Yep.
taking, stuff off your plate. So, is there a way that you found to delegate systems in an orderly way so it didn't overwhelm? I know you mentioned like you're only going to give somebody this one folder if that's their task. It's because it's hard to get all this out of your head if you don't have this stuff documented. But maybe you can highlight, who the first hire was, and ways that helped you to delegate.
Oh, for sure. That's something I actually really enjoy. So, when I'm coaching people, what I have them do is, and if you haven't done this yourself, like, I highly recommend everyone do it because it's really eye-opening. But the first thing we do is write down every single thing you're doing, or type it out, or however you want to do it. I'm old-fashioned, I like notepads, so I write it all down. So I sat one day and I just dumped out everything I was doing because I was feeling very overwhelmed. And this was in the early phases of the system processes kind of documentation stuff. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know who I need to hire. I feel like I'm going in 20 different directions. I was doing the bookkeeping, I was doing the project management, I was, working on the marketing stuff. So it was a lot of different things happening. So sit down, dump everything out you're doing, no matter how big or small. Even if you think it's something not worth writing down, write it down anyway, because it's something you're spending your time on. Then the next thing I did was there's an app called Toggle that you can download. It's Toggl. It's a time tracking software, and they've actually got like a little extension that you could put on your browser, make it really easy. So you can track your time in there. So then what I did was I and my team, I asked them to do this as well because I wanted to know where people were spending their time, not to, be a micromanager because I don't like that, but I really wanted to know where we were having some inefficiencies. And so we did that, tracking how much time you're spending on each task. You spent 5 minutes, checking your email, and it's kind of tedious, but we did it for a week or two. And then that paired with all the task lists really helped me figure out where my next hire needed to be, because what you do from that list is, okay, I'm spending a ton of time on this thing here. And I don't like it, and it brings me no joy to do it. So that needs to be delegated. So I kind of started grouping things together and figuring out what made sense, and then based the hires on that. So the biggest pain point was where I started, which for me was acquisitions. I'm a terrible salesperson. So, doing things like that does not bring me joy. I love talking to sellers, but I'm not great at the close. And I know that. So, you hire for your weaknesses. And so I was able to find somebody that was good at that, and then dump out everything I knew about that position. And that's the other great thing about making that list of what you're doing, because it also gives you a starting point on what systems and processes do I need to document, for this next hire. And you've already got it all out there, so if you're doing a lot of, like for me, for example, bookkeeping, I was maintaining rental payments and owner finance payment notes and, escrow accounts and all this kind of stuff. And once I was able to delegate that out, I had the list of all the things that needed to be done. Now it's just, here you go, and here's how you do it. And that really, dump it out, organize it, find your pain points, and then hire for those things is what I recommend.
How did you find your people that you're hiring? Where did you look?
Oh, under rocks, everywhere. Hiring's tough.
It is tough.
It is tough. And I didn't know that until I had to start doing it. I'd never hired anybody before. So there was a learning curve for me as far as learning about that. I've used WiseHire in the past and had a lot of luck with that, just because I love how easy it is. And I love that you can put criteria in there and that they organize all your candidates for you based on your criteria. So that's nice. One of my best hires was actually off of Craigslist. That was kind of surprising. And probably my best hire to date was actually someone from my network. So don't discount those type of people, just who do you know, and who do they know, or people that work for you already. Do they have, people tend to hang around with people that they're similar to. So if you have somebody on your team that's doing really well, is a high performer, and they've got friends, and, reach out to them and see if they're interested. But that's Most of the hires have been that way, just from the network and the wise hire.
Before we have to move to a few final questions, is there any other systems or anything else about even delegating those systems that you would like to leave the listeners with?
I think that having, I mean, you can't scale something that you don't have a good foundation for. And so even if you think it's not important to do that, and a lot of people I talk to don't want to take the time. And I guess this is my takeaway. I know it's like a busy work, boring kind of thing, but there are ways to get it done that make it a little bit more manageable. You know, like if you're not a person that wants to sit there and like type out the process, you know, get a recorder or something and just record what you're doing, and then have somebody on Upwork or something, you know, format it for you, you know, in a nice way that you can, you know, have your Google, you know, your G Suite set up or whatever, or, you know, using Loom or something to do screen grabs. So you can, you know, record your movements on your screen. Like, this is how we research for probates, and walk through, and you can talk and walk through the process as you're doing it. And that makes it a lot easier too. So there's different ways to overcome the overwhelm feeling, but you really need to take the time to do it if you're going to have a serious business that you really want to be, you know, scalable and have a healthy organization.
If you're really looking for the time freedom.
Yes. Take
Right.
the time now. You think you don't have the time, but you will make time for the things that are important to you. And that should be something that's important to you if you really do want that freedom to be working on your business, not in it all the time.
What's a way that you've recently improved your business that we could apply to ours?
One thing I did that was helpful for me was going through and doing an honest evaluation of your business. So really figuring out, okay, what am I spending money on? Is this still working? Is it effective? And you'll find a lot of times, I was almost shocked at how much kind of waste was happening, and software we weren't using and tools we weren't using that we were paying for. And so I did like a whole financial audit of the company to see where can we cut. So we've been making a lot of cuts, and just really focusing on profitability, you know, on the overhead as well as, you know, per deal.
What's the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
I would have to say the number one thing that can contribute to the success would be the people around me. So mentors, the people on my team, close friends, you know, just having supportive people in your life personally, having a mentor, somebody that you can work with, you know, on the higher level things, and then the people that are in there in the trenches with you day to day. I totally contribute. I couldn't have done it by myself for sure.
Melissa, how do you like to give back?
I love helping female entrepreneurs. So that's how I've been giving back recently. Just helping women get into real estate, helping them grow and scale their businesses, being supportive for them. I have 4 daughters, so it's a big part of my why is helping other women feel as empowered as hopefully I've made my daughters feel. So that's how I like to give back.
Awesome. Well, you know, and something on that note, something I forgot to ask you about and I meant to is like managing just a daily routine. Cause you know, with 5 children and managing a business like this and obviously, you know, just doing this, I mean, 1,000 flips or you know, just being that active, having that business running like that. I mean, you've had to have had great systems, which we've talked about, but you know, are there any things you can highlight that even helps you to like, you know, manage being there for 5 children and getting the home stuff done while also managing this business?
Well, it's not easy. And when people ask me about that, I go back to the business side of things and, you know, why aren't we taking what we know in business and using it at home, right? So I'm a big delegator at home too. Part of what helps me manage the household is, you know, I've got a guy that cuts the grass. I got somebody that, you know, comes to help me clean the house. You know, I can clean my own house, but is my time worth that? You know, my time's better spent working on my business instead of scrubbing the toilet, you know? So having, like delegating out for help, having a nanny. I'd hired a nanny every summer to help me with the kids when they're not in school. And that's really helpful, so that I can work and things still get done. So take some of those systems and processes you use in your business and think about how you can use them at home, and delegating.
Nice. Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that. It's definitely a struggle. It has been for us too, and just learning how to make all this happen, while still operating and being a part of the family, right? And
Right.
being there mentally as well. So, Melissa, I'm grateful to have met you and grateful for your time. It's just, this is such a crucial part of any business, especially in real estate and so many moving parts. I just love how you've broken down all your systems and then you even went into delegating systems, which I think is so important as well. But I think you really hammered it home and just saying that we got to have those systems down and how you've done that. So thank you again. And how can the listeners get in touch with you and learn more about you?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. It's really fun. Best way to reach me is through, I have a website. It's themelissajohnson.com. Talks a little bit more about me and kind of what I'm doing, helping women entrepreneurs out there. And also I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook, all the places.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.